What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a super useful upgrade on the rig. It is going to simplify the install of future mods, clean up messy wiring, free up our factory switch spots, and it is going to put control at our fingertips, and it does look pretty slick, so stay tuned. All right, so today we are installing a highly rated yet still budget-friendly switch panel. We're gonna be installing the Auxbeams latest 8-gang switch panel, and let me tell you, this thing is a game changer for anyone running multiple electrical accessories. Once you start adding things like light bars, ditch lights, compressor, rock lights, chase lights, and more, your wiring gets out of control real fast. I actually ran out of OEM switch spots in the interior of my 4Runner, and the engine compartment was starting to look like a rat's nest. The Auxbeam really cleans things up. It handles all your relays, fuses, and switches all in one sleek package. And today I'm pairing it with power trays mount and a switch panel holder that I bought off Etsy for the interior. But I'll also be showing you how to mount this in your factory dash using everything supplied in the kit. I will leave a link to all the info to where you can get this stuff in the video description below. So compared to other switch panels, the Auxbeam is the best bang for buck option in my opinion. The switch controller comes in a number of configurations for different needs and budgets. You can spend as little as $140 for the basic 6-gang or 6-button unit. I personally went with an 8-gang, so that starts at $170, but if you want customizable backlighting to match your dash lights, you can add a bit more for the RGB series. And if you want a remote and customizable color options, you're looking at the RC series for $209. The AR series for the app control, and if you want all the bells and whistles, you're looking at the AC series, which I have. The install for all these will be the same though, so you can follow this tutorial for any of those installations. Having the remote just allows you to control your lights from a distance, and the app allows you to change the colors and control the lights all from Bluetooth on your phone. All right, let's quickly go through the box. I'll explain how it works, and then we'll get this bad boy installed. All right, so we have our stickers here for our buttons on our panel. We have some very high quality instructions here, all color, nice thick pages. And here we have the switch assembly. So this is gonna have all of our relays and fuses in it. And look at that, we have some extra fuses and a puller there. So instead of having relays and fuses built into the wires, it's all in here, all nice and neat. Here we have our remote control. So this actually has a magnet on the back of it, so it'll stick onto metal surfaces, and we can remotely control all of our lights. I think this works at about 50 meters away or like 165 feet. So it's got pretty decent range on it. Down here we have our circuit breaker. So this will go between our battery and the switch panel. And we have some of our wiring. I believe this is for the accessory. This is also for the accessories. This is what we'll tap into our fuse panel with to turn the Auxbeam on and off. We have our bracket, we have some hardware, and we have our switch panel here. So these are blank, but we'll put those stickers on there. And under here, we have our power wires. We have an antenna. I guess this is for our remote. Our wiring harness, some zip ties, and some more mounting brackets, and some brackets underneath. But we'll be using the power trays bracket on ours. All right, so we have our power tray here. We have our switch assembly here. So we'll just take the cover off of this. This is gonna mount in this orientation like this. And all of our wires will come up through these holes and they'll be hidden. They'll go directly into the switch panel. We'll have our cover on it, so you won't see any wires coming into this. Everything will be tucked away nicely. It'll be clean. So our power tray has 2 threaded holes on here, so that's how we're gonna actually mount this up. So we'll use our 2 shorter screws that came with our power tray, a Phillips head screwdriver, and we will just screw these down. All right, so now we'll put our circuit breaker on here. So we'll pop this cover off, and we'll use our longer screws that came in our power tray. All right, so now we have the assembly hooked up to our power tray along with our circuit breaker. This has all of our relays in it, all of our fuses, all of our wires are gonna connect into here for our power and all of our lights and that sort of thing. Before we go into that, let's just talk about the actual switches and how they correlate with this assembly here. All right, so here are our switches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 2 30s, 2 20s, 2 10s, and 2 5s. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 30, 30, 20, 20, 10, 10, and 5 and 5. And that's how it all correlates to this switch panel.
So you'll want to go online or look in the user manual for your lights or accessories and determine what the amperage draw is, and then go over that when picking the circuit. By choosing the 20 amp circuit for a 10 amp draw, you will not trip the fuse.
All right, so the first step here is to start with our negative, positive, our accessory, and our 4-pin connector. Let's just get this all hooked up so it's ready to go into the vehicle. So, all right, so we'll have 2 positive cables here. We're gonna wanna use the shorter one. The longer one's gonna go to our battery from our circuit breaker. So let's use this shorter one. So we're gonna be connecting that one to here. That's a Phillips head screwdriver. And we will feed this up. And we'll put this back on. All right, so let's hook up our ground. Great, and let's run this positive up here to our circuit breaker. And we'll pop this back on. I do believe that is a 10 millimeter. Great, we'll get that cap back on there. Now we have this accessory wire, so we'll pop this cap off. And we will clip that in. So this is going to turn our switch panel on and off. And then we'll put our 4-pin connector in here, and that's what's going to control all of these. I think that looks pretty good. Now when we pop our cap back on, you can see how it just hides all those wires. And that's great. So we're now ready to install this in the vehicle.
Disconnect your negative and put a cloth between the terminal and the connector. All right, so the wiring harness that came with our ditch lights, light bars, and accessories will have relays, fuses, and connections for the battery. We can remove all of that part. All we need now is the wires that go directly to those accessories or lights.
All right, guys, so this feels great. I just removed all of this wiring. We have our fuses, we have our connection for a battery, our ground, our relay, all this extra wiring for both the ditch lights and the light bar. We can toss that. Now we have the wires going directly to our ditch lights and the wires going directly to our light bar. So these are going to attach to that switch assembly, that Auxbeam switch assembly. But first we need to run a wire into the interior, which is going to attach to this panel, which we'll put on the dash. So this wire comes from that switch assembly. This is one of the ones that we connected into the inside of that switch assembly. So we need to get this into the inside of our vehicle, and we need to get this wire, which is our accessory wire, onto the inside of our vehicle. This red wire is just an accessory wire. So when we turn on our ignition, it sends power to the switch assembly, lets the switch assembly know that our vehicle is on and that it should activate. So that is what that red wire is for. Some people will actually attach it under the hood to a switched accessory. Power source, I'm just gonna run it into the interior because I know where one is in there. So we'll feed these 2 wires in, and we're gonna feed them in through this large kind of rubber grommet back here. Fortunately, I've already created a hole in this, which is fed through to a switch, which controls my ditch lights. So what I did is I just taped these 2 wires to that old cord that goes to that switch, and I'm gonna use that to pull these 2 wires into the interior of the vehicle. Let's do that now.
All right, so once you pull that wire through, you will have 2. One is a red wire, that's our accessory wire. So we're gonna attach that to add a fuse. So that'll come in your kit. You'll have 2 of these. Just find the one that will fit your fuse panel, and then you want to crimp this on. So use a large set of channel lock pliers and just crimp it on. And then you're gonna put it into your fuse panel in the interior. You're gonna wanna find a blank spot. So I put it in the spot under toe back up here. Unfortunately, you will not be able to get the cover on, and you'll wanna tuck that wire up and zip tie it away.
All right, so we've ran both of these wires now into the interior of our vehicle. That's that accessory or ignition wire. That's the control wire. It's gonna go to our switch panel. All right, so we're now ready to start attaching our ditch lights, our DRLs, and our light bar to this actual switch assembly. So our ditch lights, I looked online, these take about 2 amps each. So I think a 5 amp circuit would be a safe bet for this. I might actually use a 10. For our light bar, I think I'm gonna use a 20 amp. This is a 10 amp. We do have 10 amps here, but I like to go a little bit overboard just in case there's a slight surge. We don't want to pop this fuse. So the next step up is a 20. If you actually look at the harnesses that these both came with and pop the fuses out of those, they are 30 amp fuses. They're just a generic harness, so I think they use it for their bigger light bars, more powerful lights, even their lower powered ones, just makes it easier for them at the factory. Yeah, let's get these attached now. So your kit will come with this little screwdriver. So let's put this into number 3. We'll start with the positive. All right, let's hook up the ditch lights. So these ditch lights have an amber DRL, which is this blue wire. So that one can definitely go onto a 5 amp circuit. I'm going to hook these up to the 10 amp. So I'll go into spot 5. All right, so I'll use number 7 here for the DRL. And I actually have another DRL here for my fog lights, and that's just a switched kind of DRL, so the power is not really coming from this. This just kind of turns it on. So actually, you know what, to be on the safe side, I'm actually gonna go up to this 10 amp. So I'm gonna use this number 6 spot here, since I'm running multiple DRLs into one circuit, just to be safe. And then in the future, if I wanna add more DRLs, I can just have them all on the same one. All right, so we've got everything connected here, so we're now ready to bolt this panel in place. Now you could bolt it up first. I just decided to do the wires first because they're just kind of finicky and I would rather be able to manipulate this. But let's try to get these bolts now in and mount this up to the vehicle. All right, so the kit comes with 2 bolts here, which will go right into these locations here. I believe that's the correct spot to mount it up. Now it is underneath, so it's gonna be tricky to get to. I do have a 12mm socket and a 12mm wrench that we'll use to try to get those into place. So let's try to do that now. So I'll move this over. There we go, 1/2 inch extension. That's the key. Use a 1/2 inch extension, much longer. I wouldn't over torque those, maybe like 15 foot-pounds of torque. All right, I'm liking the way that's looking, very clean. All right, so using a 10mm, I'm gonna put my ground onto this location here. This is where the ground comes off of our battery. If you want, you could run the ground directly to your battery. Right here is an easy location to access though. Then you can just tuck that ground wire under this piece of plastic next to the fuse box. All right, so we're now going to attach this mount to the back of the switch panel. So it's a Phillips head screwdriver. I just got the kind of longer screws here. I was able to find out of the bag of hardware. So just make sure that this cord feeds through on the correct side for the way that you're mounting it in the vehicle. All right, so we're going to mount this on the dash using this Scotch Mount Extreme. We'll have to clean this surface and the dash. So let's use this 99% isopropyl alcohol. So let's get that nice and clean. I'm going to apply it right here. Make sure you push down hard on that. All right, so let's clean the dash now and then we'll mount this up. Just make sure we clean this up really well. And we'll just let that dry. All right, so find out how you want this to be positioned. So sit down in the seat, look at it, kind of move it around, find the correct position for it. Once you're happy with the position, stick this in place. Now what we want to do is connect our Auxbeam switch panel to the underhood assembly. So we'll do that by connecting this to here, but I want to hide this cord. So I'll run it up under here, up and over to our switch panel. So in order to do that, we'll have to remove this piece of plastic here, this kick panel. And it's all just clips, so just pull it up. You pop it loose, put that off to the side, and then we'll remove this. There's a little plastic screw kind of in the corner here. Just twist it and it will come off. And that's what that looks like. And now we can pop this out. And what we'll do is we'll peel up this weather stripping and you'll notice there's a channel in here. All right, so let's connect these. All right, so we'll just run this cord kind of along here. All right, so we've got that wire tucked into this channel. Now we'll just pop this weather stripping back into position. All right, so as I did mention before, I do want to run that switch panel up to a different location. I bought a different mount. So I do want to keep this excess until I get that in the mail. So I'm just going to basically take this excess, roll it up, zip tie it using the included zip ties that came in the kit, and I'm going to hide it behind this panel here. And we'll just tuck this away, and we will pop this back into position, and we will pop this back on. It took a while to unscrew this, but when you put it back in, all you have to do is push it down, and it will just push and cinch right into position. So, all right, now we'll pop this back into place. All right, so time to put the stickers on.
All right, so here's mounting option number 2. This is the overhead mount, kind of by our sunroof. So just attach the panel to this mount in the same way you'd attach it to that factory mount. And then you want to peel up your weather stripping all the way to basically your headliner. Undo this 10mm bolt. This cap will just pop off, and I use an extension. Then you'll want to pull it out and up. Then we're going to feed the wire up along where the existing wires are. We're going to feed it through here. So we actually need to remove these dome lights. It's actually quite easy. There's just 2 Phillips head screws, and then just pop it down and then disconnect the wire harness. Now we can start feeding those wires up and zip tying them along where the other wires are. Just don't have them in front of your side curtain airbags. Then you'll want to feed it up along the front of the headliner and then pull it through. Then we'll pop that mount on. I put the top on, then pull the bottom into position, and then it just clips into place. Then we'll connect the connector, zip tie up the remaining wires, tuck them up, reconnect the wiring harness to our dome light, and then put those 2 Phillips head screws in. And now it is installed and completed. It's actually quite easy to do. All right, let's set the color on the panel through the panel. So to do that, we'll press mode and 1, hold it down until the red indicator light turns on. Then we can actually start cycling through the colors by pressing and holding the 1. So we're cycling through the different colors now. Once we find the color we want, which is blue for me, just release the button and then press mode to lock that color in. You can also download the app by scanning the QR code in your manual. You'll have one for Android, one for iPhone. Connect via Bluetooth, then you can actually change the color via your phone. You can also operate the switch panel via Bluetooth from your phone, which is super neat. Also operate the panel remotely using the remote. So to do that, we'll have to connect the remote. So hold the power button and the 1 button. That red indicator light will turn on there. Then just turn on your remote and it will flash green on the panel. That's how you know it's connected. Then you can use the remote to change the lights on your panel and control your panel.
All right, so if you're wondering how to attach the antenna, it attaches just under this little cover, this little cap, this little yellow cap here. So you will just screw this on. So I'll come up through this little space here. So you'll feed that up, just attach it in there. For me, what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna use it just when I want it. So if I'm doing a photo shoot and I just wanna flick my lights once during a long exposure or something like that, I'll just screw it in, slap the antenna down because it's magnetic onto my vehicle. Just stick it onto the side or somewhere where you can't see it. And then I'll use that controller, my headlights or my DRLs just temporarily while doing a long exposure so I can get them exposed properly without blowing out the shot. So it does come with 3M tape. So if you wanted to stick that 3M tape on there and permanently stick it onto, say, your hood or the roof of your vehicle or something like that, you could do that as well. So looking at the engine compartment, it looks so much cleaner and my future installs are gonna be much easier. I'm really impressed with this kit. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe. I hope to come up with a lot more videos and I always do appreciate your guys' support. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye now.